Okay, Tuesday, February 3rd. Another day where the market just took off and ran and ran and ran and ran. But today we had some targets, so you want to talk about that, George?
Yeah, it was nice in that sense, right? Was it yesterday? It was 2 days ago. I forget, but they had like some big I guess it was yesterday. Yeah, just a run up with no targets. I was like, man, that's really unfortunate. But yeah, so I'll tell you, we'll go at these one at a time because there's a fair bit of information. So I'll just blow this one up. We'll start here. So the ES, I may have to even zoom in on this thing here. So we'll kind of break it into segments here today, guys, because it obviously dumped. So we'll start here. So first thing this morning, let me get this thing aligned here. First thing this morning, we were talking about obviously again the pre-market and what had been accomplished. So yet again, here we are at 9:20. Right here. And we're opening the room and having our discussion. So here was the deal. We had already achieved target 1. And by the time the 9:30 bar opened, we'd already achieved target 2. So with the way that we trade, again, ideally is to get some kind of a pullback, even just somewhat, to actually get into a better price. So I had given 2 levels. I said that obviously we're already in the move, but best would be if we got a bounce up to 7,020. But the slightly more aggressive to that one would be right here at the 7,017. So again, they don't always give you the best option. So sometimes you just have to take a stab at it at the place that is sometimes the more aggressive. And that's just the way it goes. So either way, it did hit that thing spot on to the tick and then carried on into really oblivion because there really wasn't much else to say. We had already pre-posted all the downside targets in both scenarios 1 and 2. And then after that, I told the room that after this rubber band here, if this breaks, unfortunately, and this is where we get into segment number 2, unfortunately, there is nothing to talk about until they give more information. So even though the fall happened, and you'll see how this correlates timing wise here when we pulled the NQ, because the NQ actually did have a legit target to the downside that was 350 points lower, which it also got. So we'll get to that too. But I said that if it breaks this rubber band, you're just going to have to sit on your hands and wait because chasing is chasing. And it's just a bad idea because you don't know when it's going to stop necessarily. The market has to give you some information, little insight, and they'll tell us, right? If you just don't chase, they'll tell you. So it did everything here from 10 o'clock all the way till about 10:35. For me personally, I just didn't do anything. I had already taken the short from 17. I was completely out of contracts by the time we got to this rubber band. So that was it for me. I was done trading. And then I waited. And then as it consolidated a little bit, they gave us what we were looking for. So this is what we're always kind of waiting for. Something a little more solid, something you can kind of sink your teeth into. I'm not looking for every trade. Yes, I would love to have just taken it for, another 30, 40, 50 points. That sounds great, but it doesn't usually work that way. So either way, right about here, so right around 10:35, the market gave us 2 upside scenarios, very similar to this morning. We had 17 or 20. Here, same thing. We had an aggressive, not aggressive, just slightly more aggressive is really the best way to look at it. You could short it here from 77.25 or short it from the has to hold. In either case, they got within ticks of the has to hold. And it is labeled minor. For anybody who hasn't seen a video in the past, we do separate them out by their kind of level of importance. Minor has to holds don't mean that they're less important. I probably shouldn't have said importance. It doesn't mean that they're less important. It just means that it takes less to go through those levels. So usually in an ES, 2 points. If they can't hold it within 2 points, then that minor has to hold is going to break. It doesn't take a lot to actually go through it. So if you're on the sell side, counter trending this upside. And this is not really a counter trend, it's a pullback. The trend is very clear, right? We are clearly going down, but the pullback is what we're after. So either way, I just want to point out the minor has to hold aspect of it. So minor has to hold, it held obviously, and then it came back, retested the slightly more aggressive, and then we already had targets to the downside. In the next scenario, got all of those. And then after that, the last thing was down here, this big picture support. And we've discussed this before, but it's probably worth mentioning. Big picture support, they're a hard one to trade from, like as far as entering for the most part. It's just something that you always want to take profit at. If you find that you're already in a trade in that direction, here's a big picture support or even a big picture resistance, take profit. And that may even be a good time to just be done trading because you can see what happened. Again, if we just extend this line out, right? Like we didn't really stay below it. And right here, right around, 15, 20 hours, what are they doing? They're coming back, touching it, and now they're supporting it. So it's a very hard thing to try to figure out in time. Like, when are they going to actually reuse that? Because again, you may have gotten fooled into something like this, into something like this. So again, it's big picture thinking, not very easy to trade as an entry, is my point. So that was the ES.
I will say,
awesome day.
I will say that big picture support helped me because that second set of blue bars there, I actually got my day back to break even because I did go long in there. So.
Oh, the one around 15.
Yeah,
1500.
I had done some counter trends on the rubber bands on the way down. Little loss here, little loss there, and then I caught that big picture support when it finally bounced off of there and got all my money back. So it was helpful.
Nice.
I don't usually play the big picture support like that, but it was down so far during the day, and when it says big picture, that gets my attention. So I did use that, thankfully, to get back to green.
Because what I usually do in cases like that, just if it's any help to you, is that it depends. Like if here on the NQ, for instance, they had a big picture support too, way down here, like 176, 178, something like that. So if I'm noticing that the NQ is still way off from even getting close to the big picture support on their end, then I will just not engage personally. And you can flip flop it, right? Like let's say that the ES was really far from it and the NQ was reaching theirs. I would just kind of like leave them alone personally. Just a thought. All right. NQ. So a lot of the exact same stuff with respect to timing and kind of how the market played out. This one was a little different. And each market gives a little bit of different information sometimes. So if you compare this back to the ES start, the ES actually ran up at 9:30. And the NQ was just tanking. And we had the decision point already marked. And same thing, if I go back to 9:20, so right here, same kind of issue, if you will. It's kind of hard to tell, but there's actually two scenarios that are inside there. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let's see if I can fix my screen a little bit. Okay, I'll blow it way up for you. So you can see right here, here's scenario number one. And it was kind of overlapping with scenario number two, because this is how the market works. Everything runs in series. So it's super helpful to know when one series is ending and the other one is beginning. But either way, we had this decision point here around 9:23. So if I go back to 9:20, when we started talking, we've already basically hit a rubber band of scenario number one. So what has to happen is that the market, after having completed a full scenario, the whole rubber band, it now has to prove itself out back through its own targets. So this target and this target. Otherwise, they become resistance to the fact that they want to try to push it back the other direction. And again, it has to reach rubber band for that to work. So either way, as you can see, you got what? Wick here at 9:25, wick here at 9:30, wick here at 9:35. Never got back through target number two of scenario one. Hence, it's like a big red flashing light, hello, we're not going up. So this one was something that if you had some training in the room, you could have jumped in short. Otherwise, they had the decision point here below that around 9:23, which subsequently also was right on top of target number two of scenario number two. So that was kind of fascinating. But as you can see, it just tanked. And that was it. And then somebody, who was it? Do you remember? Somebody in the room had asked something about counter trending or something at that point. I was like, guys, here's this box, right? Decision point all the way to second target. It's a danger zone. If you look at these candles, look at this. So it bottomed out around 838, came all the way back up to 60 points, right? And then tanked again. So it's a hard zone to play in, which is why I like highlighting it for folks. It's like real simple, folks. If you didn't get in earlier, if you hadn't gotten in on the return back to rubber band or other target, and it doesn't come back to the decision point, you're pretty much in a chasing situation. And so just, again, be aware of what you're doing, and you know the targets, they're out there. So that being said, we went on to scenario number 3, which again, all of this was called out hours in advance. Like not hours, but at least an hour. So we had all the targets, all 3 of these scenarios called out about an hour before they got there. Then the next thing was the has to hold on the NQ. This was that additional piece that the NQ gave that the ES did not. So it was interesting that this was kind of something they wanted to try to hold on to. And they did for a bit. That was a horrible wick below it. But then they shot all the way back up. And then lo and behold, so again, here are your targets. Lo and behold, they never got back through target number 2. So again, it becomes, if they blow through the rubber band, it becomes a resistance point just as much as target number 1. So either are on the table. But again, I'd rather take 2 stabs at something than, 3 and 4 and 5 stabs at something. At least it's pretty limited. But I had mentioned at that point, like, if we lose this, guys, if we lose this has to hold, and this was kind of crazy. I posted this long time before we got there. Like, here it is. Their next major target down is at 433, and they didn't give anything. Like, they gave no additional information between this has to hold all the way down here. So it was just kind of a hold on for the ride. But I did a one-on-one coaching session with somebody after the trading day, and I kind of called this area out to him. I was like, look, this is what they do. They know that's the target, and they're gonna get there today. I told him, like, when he and I were speaking, it was somewhere in here. I was like, they're gonna get to at least 433. It's not an issue. Like, that's a shoe in for them. But this is what they do. They bring it right up against it, and maybe somebody's in the know, and they're like, oh, they're totally gonna go get that target now. Don't be the sucker. If you missed it from up here, just let it go. Or do what we do. Wait for it to bounce, give some clarity. Again, this is a pretty small zone considering the rest of the day. So anyhow, carrying on. Miner has to hold held. They gave another set of additional targets as a result of that holding. So here are target 1, 2, 3. Did all that. And then lastly, was a big picture support way down here around 178. And that was it, folks. What a day. Wish I had more contracts on. Could have taken it for a much longer drive, but that's okay.
Well, you passed some evals with that NQ drop this morning, so that was good, right?
Yeah, no, I don't typically put evals in the NQ, but I did do 2 of them on there, and they were in on the rubber band trade up here. And so what do you need? I think there were 50K accounts. And it's funny, I was only trading 1 NQ.
Oh, wow.
Because I saw I saw the potential. I was like, I know this thing could go a pretty good distance, so why not? Like, let's just see what happens. And I needed 150 points to get 1 NQ to pass 50K eval. So yeah, got that really quick. I got that before they even got to the rubber band. So they were already out. It was pretty funny. That doesn't happen very often.
No, can't complain about that. That's for sure.
No. But that was my only NQ trading. I was focused on just getting some evals passed. They were doing that sale through Apex.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll pick up that's like, what was it, $19 or something silly? It's like, sure, I'll pick up a couple of those, run them down, see what happens. What else? That was it pretty much on the Yeah, did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. You're not gonna be able to see it, but I'm gonna drag over to the YouTube screen,
Okay.
the wave splitter. So as you can
Oh, that's
see,
right. That's right. I've got some trade and
so these two over here on the right, these are the wave splitters. So at about 9:29 and 57 seconds, it will place a short trade and a long trade. So this was the long, and this was the short, and literally, I don't think it took but 3 seconds. The short won, the long stopped out. Obviously, the short kept going big time, so that was pretty cool. This one over here on the left actually is a new module that I haven't spoken about yet, but it's basically the auto OCO. So the OCO breakout yellow button that everybody's used to, if you click that, it's going to place a stop order above and a stop order below, and whichever way the market goes, it enters, and then that other order gets canceled. So the short obviously was really good today. I only put a couple of contracts on that in Sim, and it made like $970 in 4 seconds. So there'll be more information to follow about that, but that's the auto OCO module that I'm working on, and it'll probably be out sometime in the middle of February. So
nice.
yep, that's it.
Yep. As always, come join us. You get a free 7 days with us and kind of understand a little bit better, and we'll do a one-on-one session with you to make sure that you understand exactly like how do you use this information to more accurately make your trades as tight as you can without having to risk a ton. That's the kind of the idea. And then you got to be okay, just comfortable with the fact that even if the market's moving, we may not say much because it does have to be logical and certainly within the realm of a day trade. Big, huge swing trades are, what they are. So.
And for the newer people, if you also bought the software, after George does the one-on-one for the room, I'm going to start doing a one-on-one, probably about an hour deep dive into the software itself. So if you're fairly new and haven't done one of those with me, just let me know. Get a hold of me in Discord, and we'll get it set up.
Yep, awesome.
Okay,
Thanks, bro.
Thanks.
See you in the morning.